Welcome to my TLC latest update channel.
That night, the house was too quiet. No fights, no gripes, no drama. Just the heater humming and Kody's face lit by his phone as he sat alone. He told himself this was chill. He told himself things were normal, but something felt off. Kody looked at old photo strips, parties, times when the Browns seemed like a family. Christine's big smile popped out. She smiled so big back then, like she was trying too hard to be happy. Then there was Janelle, always calm, always got things done, always holding it all together without making a fuss. Kody stopped. He didn't feel good about things. Not for the first time. He felt weird. Those photos didn't feel like memories anymore. They felt like proof he'd lost something without even noticing for years. Kody thought arguing meant there was still something there. If someone was fighting with him, they still cared. If Christine got worked up, she still wanted him. If Janelle disagreed but stayed, she was still loyal. He'd believed that for years. But what if the arguing stops? What if the feelings disappear? What if the women you used to control stop trying to get your attention? That's when you get scared. Earlier, Kody had seen little things he ignored. Christine didn't argue back. No sarcasm, no getting mad, just polite and distant. Janelle just nodded at something tense. No argument, no correcting him. Kody thought they were respecting him, but they weren't. They were pulling away. Christine used to want to be close. She used to beg, sometimes quietly, sometimes like she was desperate to be noticed. She wanted to be a partner. She wanted to know he cared. She wanted to feel like he picked her. That night, she didn't want any of that. She was calm. To calm. And Janelle, who used to balance what she thought with being loyal, started doing stuff without saying why. She didn't need his okay. She wasn't talking it over. She was just doing what she wanted. Kody didn't know it, but things had changed, not with yelling or tears, just with clear thinking. Kody didn't see Janelle sitting in her car earlier that week, gripping the wheel, staring ahead, not mad, not sad, just tired of it all. She'd thought about years of talks, every time she got put on hold, every time she was the only one giving in, every time she was supposed to be strong but didn't get help. And she understood something simple: she was just getting by, not really living. Christine also had a moment when she woke up. In her kitchen, she looked at the life she'd made, what she'd given up, and the love she'd tried to find, and she saw herself like someone else would. A woman getting smaller, a woman waiting, a woman telling her problems to someone who wasn't listening. That didn't break her. It freed her. Back in the present. Kody threw his phone down and looked at the ceiling. He told himself it was just a phase. He'd seen this before: distance, getting mad, pushing back. But this felt different. This time, nobody was trying to get him to see things their way. Nobody was asking him to change, and that was the problem. Kody's power wasn't just about love. It was about being needed. About being the center of everything. About making the calls, about everyone waiting on him. And now, nobody was waiting. Kody didn't want to admit it, but it was simple. Janelle and Christine weren't just reacting. They were doing what was right for them. That scared him because he couldn't control things anymore. He couldn't promise to try harder later or to be nice later. He couldn't use faith, family, or tradition to get them back in line. For years, things worked because everyone believed in it even when it sucked. But belief was breaking and freedom was sneaking in. Kody thought about recent talks, trying to figure out where it went wrong. He blamed not understanding each other. He blamed stress. He blamed other people. He blamed everything but the one thing he couldn't stop: them waking up. Christine was already there. Once someone knows what they're worth, you can't argue them out of it. And Janelle? She was right behind her. Kody didn't know. Nobody watching on TV knew that the main talk hadn't happened with him. It had happened between two women who stopped trying to get a little bit of space in a system that wanted to keep them small. They didn't meet in secret. They didn't plan to get even. They didn't badmouth him. They just understood each other, and that's stronger than anger sometimes. Kody got up and walked around the house, feeling like he was visiting. Every room felt new. Not because it had changed, but because the people in it had. The family setup he counted on was falling apart quietly. And he thought being quiet meant they were doing what he wanted. That night, Kody Brown felt something new. Like he didn't matter. Not because nobody loved him, but because they didn't need him to be happy. And as he stood there, not knowing what they'd already decided, one thing was clear: this wasn't a phase. This wasn't a fight. This wasn't trying to work things out. This was the start of something ending that he couldn't stop. Most people get this part wrong. Her moment didn't hit like a ton of bricks. No anger, tears, or big drama. It was a slow burn, like a truth that had been sitting there all along, getting heavier with each thing she let slide. Janelle was always the practical one, the voice of reason. She thought you could control feelings if you just handled your responsibilities. She told herself that a stable life was better than a passionate one. That sacrifice was part of the deal, and for a while, it was fine, or, at least, she got by. While others needed a shoulder to cry on, Janelle got things done. She handled the money, made the plans, and kept the family running. She was the rock-strong, reliable, and never complaining, but when you're strong for too long, people start to not even see you, and that's what happened to her. Janelle started seeing things she used to ignore, like, in conversations, her thoughts were heard but not really valued, or how decisions were already made before anyone bothered to ask her opinion, or the expectations that were put on her without even a discussion, like her agreement was a given. She didn't fight it. She kept it inside. That was just Janelle's way. But something shifted when she realized she wasn't just tired from work or stress. She was tired of being taken for granted. She started thinking back to times she'd put her own needs aside for the sake of the family. Times she'd kept quiet to avoid a fight. Times she'd told herself that being independent meant she didn't need anyone. But she realized that independence had slowly turned into feeling alone. One night, after everyone else was asleep, Janelle opened her laptop not to work or budget, but just to think. She looked at numbers, assets, timelines. But for once, she wasn't planning for the family, she was planning for herself. That hit her hard. Not because it felt wrong, but because it was about time. She finally asked herself the question she'd been avoiding for years: can I really live like this forever? The answer came right away. No way. And that answer scared her more than anything. Janelle wasn't one to act on impulse. She wasn't going to burn any bridges or make a scene. Instead, she started pulling back, little by little. She stopped over-explaining, stopped fixing problems that weren't hers, stopped carrying everyone else's emotional baggage. Kody noticed, but he got the wrong idea. He thought she was being distant. He thought she was stressed out. He thought her silence meant she agreed with him, but silence can also mean you're clear on what you want. Behind that calm face, Janelle was figuring out her boundaries. She was asking herself why she always had to bend over backward while no one else seemed to budge. And then she realized something that stung. People praised her for being low maintenance, but what they really meant was easy to ignore. Once she saw it, she couldn't go back. The real turning point was a conversation that barely felt like one. Janelle brought up a concern calmly, reasonably, without getting emotional. She wasn't blaming anyone or making demands. She just wanted to be considered, but instead of anger, she got brushed off, and that stung even more. At least anger means you matter. Being dismissed says your feelings don't matter. That night, Janelle sat in her car longer than she needed to. She just stared through the windshield, hands on the wheel, breathing. She wasn't crying or shaking. She was just waking up. She realized she'd been strong for everyone else, but not for herself. She realized that loyalty without getting anything back isn't a good thing. It's losing yourself. Around the same time, she noticed Christine changing. Christine was lighter, calmer, less reactive. The constant drama was gone. At first, Janelle thought it was weird, then she got it. Christine wasn't calmer because things were better. She was calmer because she'd already made up her mind. That created a silent understanding between them. They'd been through the same thing for years, but from different sides. Now, they finally saw each other. When Janelle finally talked to Christine, it wasn't to complain or gossip. It was to see if what she knew was the truth. She spoke carefully, honestly, without laying blame. And Christine just listened. She didn't defend Kody or say Janelle was overreacting. She just listened, and then she said something simple. But it hit hard. You're not wrong for feeling this way. That broke something open inside Janelle. For years, she'd told herself that being unhappy was the price of peace, that wanting more was selfish, and that stability was more important than being happy. Christine's words didn't make her want to leave right then and there. They just made her realize it was okay to feel the way she did. From that moment on, Janelle stopped pretending she could handle everything alone. She started thinking about a future where she wasn't just surviving.
She started speaking up, not in a loud or dramatic way, but in a way that was firm. And that quiet strength scared Kody more than yelling ever could. You can argue with anger, but you can't argue with someone who knows what they want. Janelle didn't threaten. She didn't beg. She didn't make demands. She just stopped making her life all about someone who didn't make her a priority. Kody didn't see that Janelle wasn't just drifting away. She was standing up for herself. And once a woman like Janelle stands up, calm, thoughtful, and knowing her worth, nothing can make her be quiet again. By the end, she still hadn't said it out loud, but she'd already made her decision. Not in words, but in her heart. For years, she figured love meant working hard, being patient, and giving things up for the other person. She told herself if she just stayed positive, loyal, and hopeful, The problems in her marriage would just sort of disappear. But problems don't fix themselves when they just keep getting worse. Christine was the family's heart. She held everyone together emotionally. She set up parties, made everyone feel warm, and made sure nobody forgot birthdays or traditions, and that the house felt like a home. When others got distant, she tried even harder. But trying so hard messed her up way more than she knew. At first, Christine didn't see how much it was hurting her. She was too busy trying to keep things from falling apart. She ignored it when she felt pushed aside, when her husband was emotionally distant, and when she felt like nobody saw her. She told herself that love wasn't about being chosen. It was about choosing to stay. But as time went on, she started to feel a quiet ache inside. Not a loud one, just a quiet one. She'd feel it at family get-togethers, when the laughter sounded fake, when love came with strings, when her feelings were treated like a pain instead of something important. Christine didn't ask for much, but it was still too much. The thing that changed everything didn't happen during a fight. It happened on a normal day. Christine was in her kitchen, just standing there with her hands on the counter, listening to the house. She realized she felt lonely, even though she was with people. That loneliness felt different than before. It felt like it would never go away, and that scared her to death. She thought about her kids, especially her daughters watching her, about what she was teaching them without meaning to. She asked herself a tough question. If my daughter was in this marriage, what would I tell her? The answer came right away. You deserve better. And right then, Christine got something she'd been avoiding for a while. She didn't think that advice was for her. That broke her heart. Christine had been showing endurance instead of self-respect. She'd been teaching her kids that love meant waiting, hoping, and accepting less than what they deserved emotionally. And all of a sudden, that was horrible. For the first time, Christine stopped trying to fix the relationship and started wondering if it should be fixed at all. She started looking back at old memories with new eyes, not to beat herself up, but to try and understand. She saw how often she'd downplayed her own pain to keep things calm. How often she'd apologized for wanting to feel close to someone. How often she'd just swallowed her disappointment to avoid a fight. And she realized something awful. She had been lonely for a really long time. Once Christine admitted that to herself, everything changed. She didn't get mad, she got calm. That calmness freaked everyone out. Because calmness after pain doesn't mean you're getting better. It means you've made a decision. Christine stopped begging for someone to tell her she was okay. She stopped trying to get people to comfort her. She stopped explaining herself over and over, hoping someone would finally get it. She'd already said enough. She didn't need someone to hear her. She needed to be free. The change was small at first. Her voice got steadier. She didn't get upset as easily. She stopped trying to argue. When conversations got rude, she just walked away. Not because she was mad, but because she knew what was up. Kody thought her calm meant she was finally okay with things. He thought she'd finally given up. But Christine hadn't given up. She had detached. Detachment isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't involve slamming doors or yelling. It just means you're not invested anymore. And once you don't care emotionally, you can't be controlled anymore. Christine started making plans, not to run away, but to be independent. She thought about where she felt most like herself. She thought about what kind of place would let her breathe. She thought about who she used to be before she lost herself trying to fit in. And she liked that version of herself. When Janelle started changing too, Christine noticed right away. It was quiet, but she could tell. Janelle wasn't fighting back anymore. She was being careful about what she said. That's when Christine realized she wasn't alone. They understood each other without saying anything. They didn't need to make a plan. They were just two women who saw the same thing from different spots. When Janelle finally reached out, Christine didn't start yelling about all the things she'd been angry about for years. She didn't attack Kody. She didn't try to explain why she felt the way she did. She just told the truth. She told Janelle what she'd learned, that ignoring someone's feelings doesn't get better with time, that love without being there for someone turns into just doing what you have to. That being quiet doesn't make the pain go away. And when Janelle said she wasn't sure, Christine didn't push her. She let her take her time. Because Christine knew something now. Nobody just wakes up and is ready. They wake up and realize something. Christine's final thought wasn't about leaving her marriage. It was about getting herself back. She'd spent so long being a wife, a sister wife, someone who kept the peace, that she forgot she was a person with her own needs, boundaries, and dreams. Once she remembered that, she couldn't forget it. The biggest thing about Christine's change was that she didn't need anyone's permission. She didn't need someone to tell her it was okay to leave. She didn't need anyone to say she was doing the right thing. She trusted herself. And that trust changed everything. By the time everyone else saw what Christine was doing, it was already too late to stop her. She wasn't just reacting to things, she was doing what she wanted. Kody could feel something was different, but he didn't know what. He knew she was distant, but not fighting him. He thought she'd try to work things out, but she was sure of herself. And you can't control someone who's sure of themselves. Christine didn't leave because she was mad. She left because she was doing what was right for her. Right for herself. Right for what she believed in. Right for the life she wanted her kids to see. And once she knew that, there was nothing left to argue about. The chapter was over. Not with a mess. He thought if he just stood his ground, everyone would eventually get back in line. That's what he'd always believed. Through fights, bad feelings, and distance. Whenever a wife spoke up, Kody figured it was just a phase. Whenever things got rocky, he thought he could just tell people what to do and fix it. But now, that wasn't working anymore, and that scared him. At first, Kody just felt things were different, but couldn't put his finger on it. Talk seemed shorter. People didn't look him in the eye as long. All the usual stress, the yelling, the being defensive, the annoyance, was gone. Instead, it was quiet. But not in a good way. It was like they just didn't care anymore. Christine didn't get mad like she used to. They'd just listen, say a few words, and move on. Kody thought they were respecting him. But deep down, it felt like they were pushing him away. Because if you respect someone, you actually have to care about what they say. If you don't care, you don't. Kody tried to get things back to normal the only way he knew how. He started talking louder. He reminded them about being committed, being loyal, and giving things up for the family. He said sticking together was their job, and disagreeing was like a slap in the face. Those words used to mean something. Now they didn't even make a dent. Christine didn't fight back. Janelle didn't explain. They just didn't budge. And that bugged Kody way more than if they had yelled at him. Because yelling meant they were still fighting. Silence meant they didn't need him. Choices that used to need his okay were being made without him. People were making plans without even asking him. He couldn't even guess how they'd react to things anymore. He wasn't the main man anymore. And that messed him up. For years, Kody thought he was worth something because he was in charge. He felt good when people needed him. He felt important when people did what he said. When things worked that way, he felt strong. But now that was all falling apart. And being in charge doesn't mean anything if no one's listening. Kody told himself the women were mixed up. That they were just stressed or tired. Anything to keep him from seeing the truth. They knew exactly what they were doing. And that truth was something Kody didn't want to face. He thought being in charge was the same as having a real connection with people. When Janelle stopped telling him everything, he felt like she didn't trust him. When Christine stopped asking him if things were okay, he felt like she was blowing him off. They weren't playing their old roles, being supportive, keeping the peace, making things steady anymore. And without those roles, Kody felt naked. He realized he was repeating himself. Like if he just said things loud enough, it would all work out. He noticed his words sounded fake, not real. He noticed people weren't even arguing anymore, because no one cared enough to fight back. It was like trying to hold water. The harder he squeezed, the faster it slipped through his fingers. What hurt most wasn't that Janelle and Christine didn't see eye to eye with him. It was that they didn't need him to agree with them. That hit him hard one night when he tried to pull rank during a talk that would have blown up in the old days. He laid down the law, waiting for them to push back. Christine just nodded. Janelle calmly told him her plan, and that was it. No yelling, no trying to meet in the middle, no drama. Kody just sat there, shocked, not because he had lost, but because there wasn't even a fight. He wasn't being challenged. He was being ignored. That's when he started to freak out. Kody went back and forth between being frustrated and pretending it wasn't happening.
He told himself it was just a phase. He said things would get back to normal when everyone calmed down.
But it wasn't about emotions. It was about seeing things clearly. And once you see things clearly, you can't go back.
Kody didn't get that Janelle and Christine had already left the group in their minds.
From where they were standing, his words didn't sound like he was in charge. They sounded old. Kody tried to bring up the past. He played the religion card. He talked about the family legacy. He reminded them how much they had put in, how much they had given up, how much they were supposed to do together. But that only works if people feel bad. And Christine and Janelle were done feeling bad. They weren't saying goodbye to the family. They were just changing what it meant. What bothered Kody most was that they were on the same page. For years, the family worked because everyone was different. Different needs, different ideas, different ways of dealing with things. But now, two women who used to do their own thing were standing together. Not against him, but for themselves. That meant Kody was screwed. He couldn't play peacemaker anymore. He couldn't twist things to make them look how he wanted. He couldn't divide their attention to get back in control. They weren't asking him to pick a side. They already had. Kody started to feel like he was just watching his own life. The chats he started didn't matter. The feelings he was used to seeing weren't there. The reactions he expected never came. He wasn't losing them in a big way. He was losing them silently. And that silence was deafening. Kody couldn't get his head around the fact that people had listened to him for so long, not because he was so great, but because they didn't think they had a choice. Now they did, and that gave them guts. Christine's calm confidence and Janelle's no-nonsense attitude showed Kody that he was beat. They weren't asking for his permission. They weren't trying to get him to say they were okay. They trusted themselves, and you can't control someone who trusts themselves. The more Kody tried to reel them back in, the further they went. The more he said being in charge was the same as being loyal, the clearer it became that being loyal without respect is worthless. For the first time, Kody felt like he didn't matter. Not that people hated him, just that he wasn't needed, and that made him question everything he had built his life on. He wasn't the main man anymore. He was just another guy, and he wasn't ready for that. By the end of this, Kody had lost it all, even if he didn't know it yet. Things weren't the way they used to be. The women were calling the shots. Janelle and Christine weren't fighting him. They were leaving. And when you leave, you don't ask for permission. You just walk out the door. Different houses, seasons, and arguments, but the same old structure. Everyone always came crawling back to him. He never thought life would just go on without asking him first. By the time he figured things out, it was too late. Janelle and Christine weren't just threatening to leave or trying to get better deals. They weren't waiting for him to change. They were building something new, quietly. The biggest shock wasn't that they left. It was how chill they were afterward. Christine's laugh sounded real, light, and not forced. She wasn't trying to fill awkward silences or calm things down. For once, she was just happy without any strings attached. She found something she thought she'd lost a long time ago. Choice. Christine picked where to live. She picked how to love. She picked the kind of example she wanted to be for her kids. She got back to being herself after years of giving in. Janelle changed in a different way, but it was just as strong. She didn't announce she was a new person. She wasn't looking for attention. She didn't try to change the past. She got stable. She worked on being her own person, feeling safe and respecting herself. She made a future where she didn't have to deal with mood swings or needing someone's okay. She used her toughness, which had been used against her, for herself. Janelle was always strong. Now, she was free. Together but apart, Christine and Janelle started lives where they didn't have to deal with somebody else's feelings all the time. That changed everything. Kody was facing something he wasn't ready for. Not being left. Taking responsibility. He couldn't play the victim or blame it on other people's feelings. He couldn't use drama to stay in control. Because the drama was gone. There was just quiet and thinking. The family thing he used to run turned into something weird. People made plans without him. He didn't have to do all the emotional work anymore. He wasn't being left out. He just wasn't the center of attention. That hit him harder than any fight. Kody tried to tell himself he did his best, and that being a leader meant giving things up, that not everyone could handle things. But he knew the truth. Leading without caring turns into bossing people around without them liking you. And bossing people around without them liking you falls apart. What hurt most was not losing control, but not mattering anymore. Christine and Janelle didn't trash talk him, start fights, or get even. They moved on. And moving on is the one thing control can't stand. As time went on, it was clear as day. Christine was happy being open. Janelle was happy being free and clear. Their kids saw moms who were strong, honest, and picked peace over just dealing with it. Those things were important. Because for years, the message was, stay, even when it sucks. Now the message was, leave when it hurts you. Kody watched life change from the outside. He wasn't the main guy anymore. He was just part of a bigger picture where you had to earn respect, not just expect it. That was hard. Things don't fall apart all at once. They fall apart slowly as people stop supporting them. Janelle and Christine had stopped helping something that needed them to be quiet to keep going. The future Kody didn't see coming wasn't lonely because he was alone. It was lonely because he wasn't the person he thought he was anymore. He wasn't the main character. He was someone who didn't change. History moves on without people who don't want to change. For people watching, it wasn't about who was right or wrong. It was about seeing what was going on. It was about what happens when women stop trying to please everyone and start caring about themselves. It was about how little things can be stronger than big dramatic scenes. Janelle and Christine didn't win by beating someone else. They won by picking themselves. That's why their story hit home so hard. It wasn't about living with many wives. It wasn't about being on TV. It wasn't even about Kody. It was about when just dealing with it turns into seeing things clearly. When being loyal turns into respecting yourself. When being quiet turns into being strong. The truth is, Kody didn't lose Janelle and Christine all at once. He lost them little by little, as he didn't care about what they wanted, didn't listen to them, and only loved them if they did what he wanted. When they left, they didn't take anything from him. They just stopped giving. That's the ending no one saw coming. Not because it was wild and loud, because it was unavoidable.